Hello, and welcome to Civignite University. Civignite is the online home of commercial real estate expertise. My name is Roger Owers. I'm a commercial real estate broker and the co-founder of Civignite Commercial Real Estate. My path to commercial real estate brokerage began with about 5 years as a civil engineer and construction manager, followed by a 15-year career as an attorney. In my law practice, I focused on real estate law, construction law, and Indian law. I now use the experience gained in these professions to help my commercial real estate clients in a wide variety of transactions. I also enjoy sharing some of this experience with you in these videos. It's not uncommon nowadays to have commercial real estate leases that exceed 50 or 60 pages in length. Plus, there's all kinds of exhibits and addendums that could be attached as well. It's always a good idea to have an attorney working for you review your lease, and your commercial real estate broker should, of course, be reviewing the lease as well. However, it's always wise for you to review the lease to understand the terms of the deal. In this presentation, we're going to help you understand your lease a little bit better. We're going to focus on a clause that's commonly overlooked or really not paid a whole lot of attention to, and that is the clause that describes the parties. In this presentation, we'll look first at who cares? Why is this clause important? Then we'll look at where is this clause typically found in a commercial real estate lease. And then third, we'll offer some tips. Let's get started. So who cares about this clause and why is it important? You and your client want a binding contract. It makes no sense at all to go through the headaches and the hassles and the aggravations of negotiating a contract or a lease and then finding it being able to be unraveled by one or both of the parties at the drop of a hat. In short, you want the thing to be binding against both you and any other party in the contract. Parties who aren't named in the contract are not going to be bound by the contract. That should sound obvious. However, it's often overlooked. Where this can go awry is in the situation of dealing with a landlord who has a property manager. It doesn't make sense to have the property manager only be the person from the landlord's side that's executing a lease. You want to make sure that the landlord or the true owner of the property also executes the lease. Similarly, improperly named parties may not be bound by the lease. An example of this might be referring to XYZ Limited Liability Company as XYZ Corporation. Those two may be the same party, but there's a very good chance that they might not be. So you want to make sure that you clearly and accurately describe the parties who are going to be bound by the contract. Okay, so now, where's the parties clause typically found in a commercial real estate lease? I don't know that I've ever seen a clause titled the parties. Typically, in my experience, the parties are defined either in the preamble of the lease or contract or in the recitals of the lease or the contract. Either way, whether the parties are identified in the preamble or the recitals or some other paragraph, they're usually identified very early on in the lease or the contract, usually within the first page or two. If you want to learn more about the recitals and the preamble, see our other video on that topic. And not surprisingly, because this is a contract or lease between the parties, one or some or all of the parties may be referred to and quite frequently are referred to throughout the contract or the lease. Another space where the parties are usually going to be listed, in fact should be listed, is in the signature block at the end of the contract or the lease. That, of course, should come as no surprise. Okay, so we've talked about how it's important to clearly and accurately identify the parties to the contract or the lease. We've also talked about where the parties may be defined in the lease. Usually they're up front, they're going to be sprinkled throughout, and then we're going to want to make sure that they are in the signature block. Now we're going to talk about some tips for how to make sure that the parties are accurately portrayed and handled in the commercial real estate lease or contract. Since most commercial real estate leases deal with parties that are businesses, it's a good idea to identify what type of business each party is. For example, are they a corporation, a limited liability company, a partnership, or something else. It's also a good idea to identify what state they're incorporated in or formed in. And, just as important, clearly identify who is the landlord and who is the tenant. On the screen is an example preamble I pulled randomly from the internet. And here you'll see that they've identified Freeport number 2 LP as the landlord, and they gave it as a Texas limited partnership, and they identified ATX Technologies Inc. as the tenant and identified this as being a Texas corporation. Another suggestion is to put down the business address of the two parties. This example doesn't have that, of course, but it does help to make sure you understand where the businesses are located and further clarify exactly what business we're talking about as being the tenant, being the landlord. I mentioned earlier how it's important to make sure that the landlord or the true owner of the property is actually signing the lease, not just a property manager. It's also important to make sure that the landlord or the seller truly does own the property. In Arizona, you can check the county assessor's website to make sure that you understand who the true owner is. I'm sure other states have similar websites that can be checked to determine the true owner of the property. You should also verify the ownership by comparing the county assessor's records with those in the recorded deed that should be available on a recorder's website. You might want to check out another video on our website that deals with 8 free resources for due diligence searches in Arizona. That might be useful to you. Another suggestion is to make sure that the person signing the document have the authority to sign the document and bind the parties to the document. For an LLC, you're going to want to have the manager sign, or if there is no manager, then have one or more of the members sign. For a corporation, you're going to want to have an officer, preferably the president or CEO, sign the document. For a partnership, you're going to want the general partner to sign usually. Another thing you're going to consider is whether or not a formal board resolution is required. Sometimes large companies won't typically require a board resolution because the leasing or selling is in their ordinary course of business, and the transaction is likely not material to the company's net worth. However, mid-sized companies may ask your client for a resolution. A lender may also require a resolution and will typically provide the resolution form that they're going to want to see to make sure that the property is truly going to be bound and that the parties are truly going to be bound. Resolutions also make it clear that the person signing the document has the official blessing of the company to sign the document. By identifying the parties and understanding the importance of properly identifying and accurately identifying the parties, hopefully you now understand your commercial real estate lease a little bit better. We've given you some tips for how to properly identify and manage the parties in the commercial real estate lease, as well as where these parties are typically identified, and I hope that you can use this knowledge to your benefit in your commercial real estate endeavors. Party on! Civignite is a commercial real estate brokerage. We serve commercial real estate buyers and sellers, investors, and commercial tenants throughout the United States, including projects in Indian country. You can find more information related to commercial real estate, along with more videos similar to this one, at our website, www.civignite.com. Due to an increasing demand for our services, Civignite is actively recruiting highly skilled and experienced commercial real estate professionals. Contact us on our website to learn more. Also, if you would like Civignite to help you buy, sell, or lease commercial real estate, please contact us on our website. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Add any comments below. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. This presentation is for general information purposes only. It is not to be construed as providing any advice, whether legal, real estate, tax, or otherwise.